Hello people, and welcome to a pre-part 1 tutorial. I got a few requests to kind of cover how I get to part 1, and I had to revisit my own tutorials and watch them in order to see what did I miss. So it seems like 1 month ago, about, I started this tutorial series with how to transition a camera between first and third person, and that video actually starts off right in the middle, kind of in the middle of something. So in this video, I want to backtrack, see if I can backtrack and start off with something that everybody should be able to begin with. So that is actually the purpose of this video. So in the meantime, we have upgraded Unreal Engine to 4.10.1, and the original series started in 4.10.0, I think. So it's not like there's a big difference or anything. So I think actually since the first version I started was 4.92 or something. And frankly, it doesn't really make any difference what version you started at. I think. Anyway, so I'm mentioning this because as I remember, I started off with the third-person example here. So once you have your project open here, you go to the new project tab and pick the third person. And let's call this project for part 0. Just to have something. And it popped up on the screen. So when we start the project here, we will notice one thing that I did actually change, and that is he's always running in this level. And also the level layout is different, so that's a few things we want to change. So let's start making the changes. First of all, I always enable this one so that I can see my my content browser, and I usually want to keep like 2 spaces out here, but that's a preference, personal preference. And then let's go to the project settings and make sure that we have some input for the control. So the preset input controls are set on action mappings and the move forward. And since I'm left-handed, I just want to quickly map this, otherwise it's going to annoy the hell out of me, sorry. So this is going to be forward, and this is going to be backwards. And the backwards, I want to change the scale to -1, and the move right, we want to add, where did it go? Oh, wrong place, sorry. On the move right, click this one, add, this is actually the left, so this is going to be -1, and the other one is going to be L for the right motion. This one. Okay, so that's axis mappings. I think that's all I changed in here, really, up till this point. So in my first video, I see I have a run, and I have an interact, and I have a drop item on my action mappings, and I know for sure that I use the run, and I don't think really I use the interact until part 2. But let's make both of these, and the drop item I never used because I never got to that part actually. So that's functionality we don't have. We can't pick up anything and then drop it, or maybe we can. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's do the run. So for me, I usually use this one to run, but usually most people use what is it called? Shift. Keyboard. Shift. We can click here and type shift. So let's put in the left shift. And also let's add the interact. Not that I'm gonna use this in this video, but let's just add it. So interact, and that's gonna be your primary interact key. Often I use H because I'm left-handed, and most people I see when they play with ASWD, they use E. I think that's the kind of the standard for righties. So I think that's what you need to set up in here. So this should be pretty standard, I hope, but now I covered it anyway. So the other thing I didn't really show how to do was how to change the running behavior. Now let's do something else. Let's get rid of this level first. So so we have a level that looks like the one I have, and I think I have my my world outliner up here. All this stuff here. I think I made new level at default. This one, yeah, that looks pretty much what I would have in the other example. And then you can press space a few times to get this one, and then you can kind of expand it in one direction, and you can expand it in the other direction, and then you will end up with something like this. So that looks pretty close to what I had in my example. And but he's still running constantly, so let's make that change. So the first third-person blueprint is located inside this folder under here called third-person blueprint, and I would recommend that you put it together with the animation blueprint, because these two work tightly together, so you don't have to switch constantly. That is something that confused me a lot in the beginning, so I just prefer to put it onto the mannequin folder, and the animation, the third person NMBP is located under animation up here, so a level under mannequin. So let's drag that up here and pick move. So inside the mannequin, then we will have these two fellas here. And just to mention a bit about all the basics of these two, this is the, you can kind of view this, I believe, as popped up on the other screen. Let's also take this one. Oh, okay, yeah. So the third person character blueprint, and if you kind of want to do it, so it's more clear, you can underscore BP. So it's a blueprint, you know that. But I usually quickly end up looking at the color, so I know this is the character blueprint, and this is the animation blueprint, because it's got the yellow bar down here. I think all the animations are yellow. No, they're green actually. There you go. Okay, so the blend spaces and animation blueprints are yellow, slightly lighter, but it's something I think you can configure. Anyway, blah blah. So continuing, inside the animation blueprint, let's see, we have, this is the standard stuff you will always have when you open that third person example. And I prefer to just remove, I'm gonna develop this, this is only gonna take care of keyboard and mouse controllers. So this stuff about the touch input, I'm not gonna cover at all. So I just remove it. And also the gamepad stuff up here, I don't own a gamepad, so that's why I just also get rid of that. Okay, so when you click in here, you have the viewport with the character, and you have the construction script, which is run every time something in this blueprint is constructed, which is also going to happen inside the editor actually, but that's another story. And the main thing is actually now just the movement input, which is handling the forward and the right movement, which you just set up inside the the project settings here. We just talked about the inputs here. So these move forward and move right. These two are mapped, cached inside these two event handlers here. So and that means actually these two, all this code is going to be updated on every tick. It means on every frame, this is going to be running. So it will record every movement you make. Okay, and this is the mouse input. The same as for this. This is going to run on every frame. And then as a one single controller here, our event handler for the jump, which was what was created for us at the example. So I think what I did, and I'm not sure exactly, but let's just assume that I went to my character movement, and we have this stuff up here. So one of these under the line here is called the character movement. It's a class which is inherited from the what is it? The player character. You can see if you right click and make a new blueprint class. Yeah, the character blueprint. So if you make one of these, then you will create one of these also. And then you will get a lot of this stuff. Okay, so go back to the third person character and click the character movement. And I think it's called max walk speed. And let's make it a little bigger. So this is the speed that your character, the walk speed actually refers to both running and walking. Doesn't really there's not a max run speed. So if you wonder about that, why that is not there, then it's because it's called walk speed, and that's it. Just to very quickly mention that if you drag this one in, and you drag this one out again and say get movement state or movement mode, light mode. Not from mode, sorry. Delete. Actually, let's set movement mode. Set character movement mode. Yeah. Then you get this drop down here, and here you can see you have walking and you have nav mesh walking, which is for the AI, and you have falling, which is going to be true whenever you're falling, like in a jumping state. And swimming, I haven't played around with that. Flying, obviously flying. And there's a tooltip where whenever you hover the mouse here, it's kind of helpful. And custom, I don't know, something. But anyway, so max walk speed is referring to this state, and that's the state your character is going to be most of the time. So that's just a quick note of that. So let's go back to that and say max walk speed. And let's say per default this is set to 600, so I want to set this to 200, which is going to be, when we play it, it's going to be like this. So, and I think this is pretty close to what I have in my example. Okay, so how do we want to make him run? We right click here and say input action, and there you can see you have one called run. And the reason why this pops up is because we added it inside the project settings here. So whenever you add one of these action mappings up here, like run and interact, we will have one for interact. I don't know if that showed up. This one is a similar one. So that just means that whenever we press the key assigned to the run input action, then which in my case is the Danish Ø, or for righties it will be the left shift, then this code pressed is going to be executed. So the way to get your character to run is to say, okay, the movement character, the character movement control, drag this in and drop it here, and then set max walk speed for the pressed. And you want to set this to 200. I know we are already having, no, sorry, 600. Sorry. And you can copy this, or you can, actually, if you don't want to have more of these, you can just put them together like this and drag out 2 times. And from the released, whenever we release the run key, then we want to set it back to 200. So that's what it's being set to right now. So if we play this and we walk, he's going to walk, and if we press shift down or U, he's going to make change to the run. So I think this is pretty close to what I started out with. And the part 1 video is gonna talk about how to modify the camera. And I'm not sure if I mentioned anything at all about these components here, because I kind of just learned by reading on the forum and the wiki and all that stuff, how that works. One thing that was puzzling me up until actually 1 month ago was this arrow component. What the heck is this about? And actually you don't need it. I haven't found myself using this one at all ever, except, well, I end up actually using them as traced points later on. But in this example, it's just showing the forward direction. So if you don't want to be, you don't really need this, but you can't really delete it because it's inherited from the character. And then we have the capsule component, which is your collision capsule. And as I know, you can only have 1 collision capsule. But that basically means that the reason why your character is not falling down through the ground is because we have this collision capsule. Okay, one last thing I might want to mention is he's making this really huge jump here. And you can also adjust that on the character movement by typing in jump velocity, and I think maybe I set that to something like 450 maybe. I think that's a little bit more fair. He's making this kind of unearthly jump. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to show in this video. Let's see. Yeah, we have a, yeah. Oh, well, one thing I want to mention about the animations. We have these 7 animations. One of them is a jump and an idle when he's standing still, and we have a walk and we have a run. These are the primary ones, and these are also jump animations. They are the walk and run and idle, this and this, are being driven by this blend space, and it's called 2D. And actually that's not entirely true, because this is actually a 1D, meaning it's a one-dimensional blend space. And you can see that because you don't only have 1 parameter out here. It's called x-axis speed in this situation. So and actually these settings, because I now set this to 200, and this is the speed setting for walking. And as you can see, when I'm hovering my mouse here, it says speed like 93 or something. So actually what you want to do here is to make a few changes to this one, so you have everything aligned up with the changes I just made. So this is going to be 600 for the speed, and if we divide this by 3 into 3 sections, I think we should get this is 200. Yeah, the important part is that I got a line here with 200, because then I can take my these two turned red. So this is the walking one, I can drag it up here, and this is the running one, I can drag that up to the top. So this is speed 600, and this is speed 200, and this is 0. Now it's going to blend in between these. So that's what I needed to make changes. And just to quickly finish off this, we have on somewhere on the marketplace, Jesus, it's really slow. Okay. You also want to get this animation. Type in animation, and we have this animation starter pack for free, and you can get all these animations. They have a lot of rifle animations you can play around with. So I think I will be I am using these rather. So you're gonna need to download them and then enable that as well. But that should hopefully bring you up to speed on how to get to the part 1 scenario. Let me know if you have any further questions. I will try to answer them as soon as possible. Thank you, and bye.